Despite a record number of bills filed taking aim at the LGBTQ plus community during the last legislative session, Texans are still not seeing the impact of the laws that sparked the most controversy. This week on Inside the Investigations, the team that brought you Outlaw explains that most of the new laws have been caught up in court battles and paused while appeals play out.
Good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining us here on KXAN Live. I'm Will Dupree in the KXAN Live studio, joined as always on our Wednesday mornings with Kelly Wiley, investigative reporter here at KXAN. Kelly, nice to see you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk about this today.
Yeah, and we're bringing in a third guest today, and we're very excited to talk to her because there is so much to talk about on this particular topic. Please welcome into the conversation investigative reporter Arzo Dost. Arzo, thank you as well for being here.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
Well, let's jump right in. Arzo, thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to talk about the flurry of bills passed in Texas's last legislative session impacting the LGBTQ plus community. It's been 6 months since the team of KXAN journalists published Outlaw, which explained how many of these laws would impact Texans. And it's important to note that our very own Will Dupree, who hosts this Inside the Investigation talk, was critical in this reporting. So we're actually going to be asking him a lot of questions today. But first, Arzo, remind us of why the 2023 legislative session was so unprecedented.
Well, Kelly, a fifth of the country's state-level bills impacting the LGBTQ plus community were filed right here in Texas, and that was just last year, and that's according to the Human Rights Campaign analysis. Equality Texas tracked about 141 such bills, a record, and that's up from just 2015 when there were just 12 bills, such bills filed. Now, some of these policies passed, but there were several others that progressed substantially in the most recent legislative session.
And Arzo, the team that looked into Outlaw, which was this big project that a lot of us participated in just a few months ago, looking at these bills impacting LGBTQ plus Texans, we featured a number of the laws that both became law or just proposals that were voted on and considered during the legislative session. What's the status of some of those now?
Well, Will, I'm so glad you mentioned that. This was an undertaking by a big part of our team in the newsroom, digital team. You were involved in it, from Josh Hinkle to David Barrera. And part of what we wanted to do is there's so much going on with these legislations and bills that we wanted to stay on top of it. So that's why we wanted to do an update. But we found that in Texas, we really aren't seeing the impact of several of the laws yet that really sparked some of the most controversy across the state, because a lot of them, they're still caught up in the courts process. They're being appealed. So it's all still being played out.
And can you give us some examples about what those laws are that are maybe in effect now?
Well, as I mentioned, several of us were looking into these. Some of the main laws that I focused on and have been trying to stay on top of was, for instance, Senate Bill 12. Now, Senate Bill 12, it's commonly referred as the drag ban, though it doesn't really explicitly mention drag in the text. But the law essentially restricts and criminalizes drag performances. And there was some movement on this just recently, several weeks ago, on April 10th, the ACLU telling us that they submitted a brief to higher court, the U.S. Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, asking for a permanent injunction to the law. Now, the court ruled the law will remain blocked until it issues a final ruling. And honestly, that could come within weeks or months.
And before we move on, I want to pop back to Will, because Will, you reported a lot on a lot of these bills. What have you been hearing about from the community, from people that you talked with in the original series, about the status of these bills?
Well, one of the bills that we mentioned there, one of the laws, I should say, Senate Bill 12, that Arzo just talked about, that would criminalize drag performances in the state, it's been challenged by several lawsuits. One of them had 5 plaintiffs. One of the plaintiffs is a drag performer here in the community. Her name is Bridget Bandit. And that had a permanent injunction issued against it, and now that's been challenged and appealed by the state attorney general, Ken Paxton. So we are still waiting for that to play out, and whether or not some of those plaintiffs will have to go back to court. You have to remember that a lot of these advocates and drag performers and entertainers that are a part of these lawsuits, they never envisioned having to go to the Capitol, let alone a courtroom, to defend some of their rights. And so we may have to see that play out even a little bit longer. And while we're in that legal limbo area, it's affecting them too, because it's still hanging over their heads in a way. Now, of course, we've reached out to some of the lawmakers, and they are hopeful, particularly the ones who supported these laws, that they will still stand in court. But again, we'll have to see whether or not that injunction might stand, or if it will eventually even make it all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. That's a big question that still lies out there.
And I still remember that this moment in one of your stories where we see Bridget Bandit in a beautiful gown walking up to testify at the Capitol. It was such a moment. I'm curious if we'll see more of those. It was kind of something you don't typically see when you're in the Capitol sitting there for hours.
Sure.
But to move on, for now, drag performances are still happening across the state. But what about Senate Bill 14? That one caused a lot of controversy, Arzo. What have you heard about that?
You know, there were huge crowds that went to the Capitol anytime this was brought out. Senate Bill 14, essentially, it bans certain medical options for transgender children, and it could put doctors' medical licenses in jeopardy for providing that service. Now, currently in Texas, the Supreme Court, it's going to be up to the Supreme Court. The High Court heard oral arguments back in January. Now, opponents of the law argue it stops parents from being able to make medical decisions on behalf of their kids. The legislators who were behind this law, we've of course reached out to everyone involved, including the Attorney General, but we have not gotten any comments or responses back. And then there's another bill that I followed closely, which was House Bill 900. Now, this bill requires booksellers to rate the level of sexual content in books sold to U.S. Our Texas school libraries. Now, the law still remains blocked, and we could see more movement on this in the coming weeks.
We should mention the lawsuit that led to that blocking, at least temporarily, of House Bill 900. One of the plaintiffs is Book People, a local bookstore here in Austin that a lot of people know. You know, we keep talking about some of these court challenges that have blocked some of the laws or put them on pause while appeals are heard in some ways. Can you talk to us, though, Arzo, about some laws that actually went into effect and are being implemented right now?
Well, certainly, that was something that we focused on in our most recent update when we did Outlaw just a few days ago. That one of the bills was Senate Bill 17. It's a great example of a bill in effect right now, but it is making waves across the state. Now, the law prohibits higher education institutes from having diversity, equity, and inclusion DEI offices. And most recently, yesterday we had coverage on this where senators wanted to connect with these universities to see where we all stand on this law. Now, universities essentially cannot make DEI-based hiring decisions or require people to participate in training, among other provisions. So there's a huge impact on this. And we've heard from, employees who've been laid off and those students impacted because there's been a loss to resources and scholarships.
So while the last regular session was record-breaking, it is not the first time lawmakers have filed a lot of legislation impacting the LGBTQ plus community. Have lawmakers given you any indication that they plan to actually refile bills or add on to legislation that's already passed?
Kelly, the next few months will be key. As we start a new session next year, a lot of the bills that we saw that didn't progress far could come back, we're told. And some of the laws that did pass, we could see lawmakers, as we have in the past, try to strengthen certain things, certain wordings. So, we're going to be watching it closely. I know Will's been continuing to cover it and kind of update all of us. But the whole point of why we wanted to revisit Outlaw recently was we wanted to have one place where you could go and really learn about the latest on what's going on. And we're going to continue to do that.
when you're talking about having one place to go to, I think this session, the several special sessions that followed it also, it almost became difficult to keep up with all of the different things. It was like playing whack-a-mole to make sure that we didn't miss something that could affect a lot of people in our coverage. And I think Outlaw was an amazing piece to help people have one centralized place to go to see, oh, I didn't realize that was going on too. So I'm looking forward to the updates in Will's reporting and your reporting, the entire Outlaw team, which, by the way, if you haven't gone to our website, there's a big picture of all of them. So many people involved to make it great.
We wanted a comprehensive look at what was happening. And, there was a lot of controversy surrounding a lot of these bills, which meant that there was a record amount of people showing up. There was tension. And so we just wanted to have a place where things would be easy to find.
Investigative reporter Arzo Dost, thank you so much for sharing this update with us and for your continued reporting, and of course a part of our whole team that contributed to Outlaw. Please check that out on our website at KXAN.com. But Arzo, thanks for joining us again.
Thanks, Will and Kelly.
All right, Kelly, that is our conversation for today for another episode of Inside the Investigations. Looks like we're going to have some more conversations coming up in the next few weeks, right?
Yes, we just had a big investigation for Matt Grant drop today. We'll be talking about it next week, so I'm looking forward to it.
All right, Kelly Wiley there, Will Dupree here. We'll see you back here at another time. Hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.